Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Shimere if you're new here. Today's video is basically going to be me giving you some interview tips, okay? So if you guys have a job interview to go on, or you're looking for work right now and you know you're putting that energy out there that someone's going to be calling you and you're going to have to go on an interview soon, these tips are definitely going to help you ace your interview. Okay, you guys, so tip number one is definitely be mindful of what you look like while you're going on your interview. So I know you definitely hear it all the time. You should not judge a book by its cover. And honestly, I definitely feel like that. However, it's just the reality of what goes on when you're on an interview, okay? Now, one thing they shouldn't be judging you on as far as appearance goes is whether you have tattoos, the color of your skin. Let's be real, that happens. And also things like, just piercings, hair color, things like that. Your age, they shouldn't be looking at things like that because then, we get into discrimination issues, okay? So, but what they will be looking at is just the simple things as far as you looking like you put forth effort or you cared when you got up that morning for your interview. So, in my experience, I have worked at places where my managers would, let us know or discuss how their interview went. And that's how I got some of these tips, by listening to them complain or say things that people were doing in their interview or how they showed up. So the first thing would be, you don't have to starch and press your clothes, but try to make sure, you're not too wrinkled. Things like that. It could be something as simple as, your clothes are wrinkled, you came in and that's the first thing they noticed and they're like, ooh, do they even care enough to kind of make sure they look presentable when they come to work? Now, another issue when it comes to wardrobe and what you look like when you go on an interview is this. Ladies, okay, I have to talk to us ladies first. When it comes to cleavage, let's try to, use the whole less is more thing, okay? Let's not show as much cleavage because it gets to be distracting. And not only that, a lot of the times people have an issue if you come on an interview and your clothes are ill-fitting. And usually it's when clothes are too tight, okay? So if you know that you have an interview coming up, but let's say you're like, okay, I have an interview, and your mind first goes to, let me wear a dress or something like that. If you know most of your dresses look like dresses that you're going to wear to a party or a club or something like that, then let's try not to wear those dresses to your interview. Or let's say this, because this definitely has happened probably to everyone. Okay, a lot of the times people will have a section in their closet that's kind of like their dressier clothes or, business casual clothes. And let's be real, sometimes you gain weight, okay? It happens to everyone. So you might automatically think when they call you for your interview, okay, what can I wear? Ooh, you know what? I have this blouse or I have this dress and I have these pants that I can go to. But then you try them on and they're a little too tight. How about not wearing that dress or that blouse or anything that's too tight? Because for one, it's gonna make you feel uncomfortable. And you definitely need to be comfortable when you're in an interview, okay? But instead, what you can do is, especially if it's last minute, if you know this is your go-to outfit and then the morning of, it's just not fitting right or it's too tight or something like that, what you'll then want to do is think about the place that you're going on an interview for and dress according to how you're going to dress when you actually start the job there. So for example, if you're planning on wearing a dress to your interview and you get up in the morning and it's too tight on the morning of the interview, but you're going to an interview for a retail position, just think about what you usually see them wearing at that particular location, or what you usually see retail workers wearing. So for instance, if you know that, hey, at that location you usually see them wearing khakis and like a collared shirt or something like that, then try to match that vibe. And even if it came down to, let's say you're just not the type that has a lot of dressy clothes, but you have this interview to go on, really all you have to do, even if for some reason you have to wear some jeans and some type of t-shirt or something like that, my advice would be, if you have any accessories, go ahead and accessorize for sure, but just make sure whatever you're wearing looks neat and presentable. So if for some reason you have to end up putting on some jeans or something like that, how about just whatever shirt you have, tuck it in, put on a belt, you know, make sure your shoes are decent, make sure that it's wrinkle free. And it's definitely better than wearing something that's dressy, but it's ill-fitted, if that makes sense. And another example of that would be if you're going on an interview in the medical field. If you get up and you have any issue with your outfit that you're supposed to be wearing for your interview, then go ahead. If you've been working in that field, I'd rather you put on your scrubs and wear your scrubs to the interview than try to dress up in an outfit that's ill-fitted. And another thing, okay, well, two other real quick tips on what you look like when you go on an interview. If you, for some reason, are gonna wear your shoes and they are open-toe shoes, please make sure that your toes are actually polished, or at least just cleaned and groomed, like the toenails are cut, because honestly, you guys, that's one thing. Like, you might think like I'm walking in and they're just looking, you know, just gonna look at me from here chest on up or something, but honestly, you guys, people in these interviews, they are looking at you from head to toe, okay? So if you wear open toe shoes, you know, you don't have to have a full-on pedicure, but just make sure your toes look presentable. And another thing would be, I know right now a lot of people are big on wearing their lashes. I love a good lash, okay? I love mascara. But if you are going to wear any type of false lashes, or if you're the type who gets your lashes done, please make sure that if you're going on an interview, you have lashes that are not too thick or too long. Because I've heard management complain about someone, it's like they couldn't even focus on what her skills were and what she brought to the table, because her eyelashes were so long and so thick that at times they didn't even know if she was looking at them or if her eyes were open, and it was just a whole thing, okay? So I definitely recommend like toning your lashes down too. And hey, it might not be like the most fun thing to have to do, but like I said, it's just the reality of what goes on when you're going on an interview. All right, you guys, so the second interview tip I have is for you to research. Please research the company that calls you for an interview. I know a lot of the times when you're trying to find a job, like, you know, it's like I'm filling out this application, this, and this. Sometimes people will call you for an interview and you're like, oh my God, did I even apply for that? Like, I applied for that? Like, sometimes they can really get that real out here, okay? So what you will want to do is, if someone calls you back for an interview, make sure you then go back before your interview at some point. You might know, if you know about the company already, then great. But if you don't know that much about the company, make sure you go back and do some research. Make sure you find those sites that have reviews from other past employees or present employees, you know, where they're showing like their list of pros and cons for working for that company. Make sure you know, research the different positions for the company, how long the company's been around and things like that, because those are all things that can be helpful to you in the interview. Now, one thing I will say is this can help you in a variety of ways, because let's just say you have researched a company and you see some pros and cons that a person wrote about the company. Once you've done your research, someone's review was, The pros were, okay, they have great management and the salaries were great. But the cons were that they frequently had to work overtime and there wasn't much room for advancement or something like that. That's gonna bring me to my next tip, which is write down questions that you wanna ask in your interview ahead of time before you get to your interview. Here's how that research would apply. Here's an example, okay? So if I were someone who looked at that and the cons concerned me, I was like, hey, you know what? They say you have to work overtime frequently. Like, let's say you're someone who has kids or something like that, and you know, like, hey, at 5 o'clock, I need to be off because daycare closes at 6 and they're charging me by the minute if I'm late, something like that. If you know ahead of time that you aren't going to be the type to be able to just be working overtime a lot, that research has now helped you be able to form some questions to ask them in your interview. You can say, as I was doing my research on your company, I noticed that some employees said they frequently had to work overtime. Is that something that I would probably experience in the position that I've applied for? Let's just say you're gonna be lead cashier or something like that. You can say, hey, you know, does the lead cashier usually have to work overtime? Because based on my schedule, I would have to make sure that I'm off for this time, you know, and so I was just wondering if that's something that will apply to me. Because sometimes just because it's a pro or a con for someone else, like, doesn't mean that it's going to always apply to you. It could have been just that situation. Maybe that person had to frequently work overtime because when they were employed there, it was the holidays, and that could be something that they'll let you know. Like, no, you know what? Usually we don't have to work overtime, but sometimes around the holiday times, this will happen. That way you can make an informed decision on if you are able to actually do that or not. Because honestly, you don't want to do something that you know for sure starting out you're not going to be able to do. Next on the list is, okay, you've done your research, you've been asking questions, you've had your questions prepared ahead of time, now you're in the interview. This is the time to be calm, okay? I feel like a lot of the times people really start to stress about the interview process because they're not calm, and they tend to look at the interview process almost as if it were like some type of interrogation. What you have to do is be calm and realize that they are interviewing you. However, in a lot of ways, you're interviewing them as well. Okay, once you've done your research, you go in there calm and collected, because honestly, yes, you need to show up and show out and let them know why they should hire you. But at the same time, if you've done research and you have the list of questions ready to ask them, they're going to see that, you know what? It's not just about whether we want him or her for this position. Now they're going to be like, dang, like now I need to convince him or her that they should be wanting this position. So it goes both ways. You shouldn't ever go into an interview feeling like everything is just, do they like me? Do they like me? Really, what you need to be seeing during the interview is, do I like them? You know, like after you can do all the research you want, and you might get on the interview and, you know, let's say it's a group interview. You might feel their vibe, and you might be able to tell whether you would actually fit in with them or get along with them, or, you know, you may notice things that aren't what you expected them to be. So they have to be able to convince you that you should want that position just as much as you have to convince them that they should want to hire you for the position. So I would say if you look at it from that point of view, it usually helps you go in there way more calm and not feeling like everything is just their decision, because honestly, you have a decision to make as well. So, you know, keep that in mind, and that should definitely help you stay calm and go in there confident and ready to go. All right, you guys, so the last interview tip that I have is talk about the money. Okay, honestly, I don't know what it is. I've heard over the years a lot of people say that Men are usually more confident about talking about money than women are, but I'm just going to tell you now, man or woman, you need to be willing to talk about the money because look, let's not get it twisted. At the end of the day, you're going to work because you need to make money to provide for your family. So you need to talk about money. Like, you can't get in there and hope and assume that they're going to pay you what you need to be paid. It's just unrealistic to constantly go into interviews and hope that they offer you enough, or hope this, or wonder about this but not ask them, or feel like, okay, well, let me at least secure the job first before I start asking about pay. Like, no, you need to go into the interview ready to discuss pay. Now, one thing I will say is it goes back to doing your research. So let's say you've researched the company and you know the position that you've applied for, they have a pay range of, let's just say you're going to work somewhere and they start off at $13, but they can go all the way up to like $18. You know, just any pay will work, okay? So if you've done your research and you see that's what this position usually pays, that's the pay range, when you go in and you discuss things with them, not everyone is going to tell you, hey, this is what you make if we hire you today. They don't usually do that. But what you can do is say this, okay, after doing my research, I realized that for this position, most people make between $12 and $15. Now, based on my budget and my expenses, I would definitely prefer to be closer to the $15 range. However, if I were offered a position with you guys, what are your percentage rates for top talent when you do yearly reviews? Now, the reason why you're going to want to ask a question like that is because a lot of places do reviews based on, are you top talent? Do you go above and beyond? Are you not on track? Are you not on level? It'll be worded different ways for different companies, but if you ask them in that way and you mention top talent, they should be able to at least answer the percentage question, because that's already written out for them for HR as far as raises go at a lot of places, okay? So it might be something as simple as, okay, well, when we do reviews, if someone is top talent, they're going to get a 5% raise, a 5% increase in their pay, something like that. Based on whatever percent they tell you, you can then, start calculating and be like, okay, well, if I do have to start out at $14, okay, well, after a year, if I do my best and I become, they say I'm top talent and I get a 5% raise, like, I can calculate how much I'm gonna make based off of the 5% raise. Then, if you get that 5% raise, then the next year, if you do top talent again, it's going to be an extra 5% added on to that new amount from that first year's raise, okay? So you can kind of map out quite a few years and scenarios based on whatever percentage they tell you they give top talent. Also, the good thing about asking a question like that during an interview is it puts it in their mind and it lets them know that you already plan on being top talent. You plan on coming there and doing exactly what you have to do and going above and beyond in order to get the highest raise that you can get. So it's honestly a good thing for them because they'll see that you're serious and you are planning on going there and getting the job done. And it's good for you because after the interview is over, take those notes, have those questions answered, and you can go home and think on it and, do different scenarios with your salary. You can also, ask them, okay, well, what if I'm like the next level under top talent? Or, what's the lowest percentage raise that you can get if you're getting a raise? That way you can have all these scenarios laid out so that if they call you and they offer you a position, you can honestly know ahead of time whether that's going to work for you. You can know, okay, you know what? It's going to take me 4 years to actually get to where I want to start off at if I get 5% raises every year or something like that. That way you can make a better informed decision, okay? So always, always, always talk about the money, okay? No matter what, even if it makes you a little bit uncomfortable, it's okay. It's something that needs to be discussed, because one thing you don't want to do is take a position if someone offers it to you and then find out how much it's going to pay after the fact and be completely like, oh my gosh, I thought I'd be making more than this. Okay, it's one of the worst feelings ever, trust me, I know. All right, you guys, so those are my tips for today for interviewing. If you guys have any interviews coming up, I hope you use these tips. I hope they are helpful for you, and good luck. I hope you get whatever job it is that you are out here wanting to get. In these times that we are living in, I know a lot of people are looking to start new careers or, you know, get new jobs, and I'm gonna send positive vibes to all of you guys, and I hope these tips are helpful. If you like this video, please make sure you give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to my channel, comment, let me know. All of that good stuff will help me out, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.